Okay, I mean some. Did Bob Goblin says, "Yeah, tree, give me all your gold." Did Bob Goblin says, "No gold, huh?" Did Bob Goblin says, "All right, well, give me all your rocks." Ha! Did Bob Goblin says, "Huh?" Then he says, Did Bob Goblin says, "A horse, perfect for Bandit Bob Goblin to make his getaway on." Did Bob Goblin says, "Yeah, horsey." Or when Lola says, "Okay, I gotta go." Then Lola says, "What's wrong?" Then Lola says, "Are you sad because you didn't want me to leave?" Then Lola says, "Oh, you poor bird. I know you don't want me to leave, but I can't just leave me there." Or what Ogre Doug says, "Probably because we're not speaking chicken." And the just like the when Bandit Bob Goblin says, "Yeah, horsey." Did Bob Goblin says, "Ah." Did Bob Goblin says, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, what?" Did Bob Goblin says, "Easy, horsey, easy." Did Bob Goblin says, "Aha." Did Bob Goblin says, "You there, help Bandit Bob Goblin slow this horsey down so he can throw his lasso." Did Bob Goblin says, "Use your finger, tap the lasso." Did Bob Goblin says, "Got it, easy, horsey." Did Wally says, "There it is, normal." Did Normal says, "Huh?" Did Wally said, "Bob Goblin, what are you doing at my house?" Did Normal say, "Yeah." Did Bob Goblin says, "I'm Bandit Bob Goblin, and this is my horse." Then Wally said, "Bob Goblin, it's my house." After when Bob Goblin says, "It's time for Bandit Bob Goblin." And just like that when Bob Goblin says, "It's time for Bandit Bob Goblin." Then Bob Goblin says, "You there, drag my bandit close to me." Then Bob Goblin says, "Ah, that's much better." Then Bob Goblin says, "Now that's more like it." Then Bob Goblin says, "This goblin's called Bandit Bob Goblin." Then Bob Goblin says, "Wait, just one thing." Then Bob Goblin says, "You there, tree, give me all your gold." And then Wally said, "Bob Goblin, it's my house." Then Bob Goblin says, "Nope, this is Bandit Bob's horse. His name is Horsey." Then Wally said, "Well, your horsey, it's our housey. It's where me and Normal lives." Then Normal says, "Yeah." Then Bob Goblin says, "You can't live in a horse? That's so funny. Plus, can a house do this?" Then Bob Goblin says, "Hey-ya!" Bandit Bob Goblin, then Normal says, "Oh, no." Or when Zoe says, "Oh, Diamond Tiara," then Diamond Tiara says, "I'm not home." Then Zoe Tran says, "Yes, we did. We saw you." Then Diamond Tiara says, "Fine, I'm coming." Where Diamond Tiara says, "What do you want?" Where Zoe Tran says, "Diamond Tiara, good news. You got an invitation." Where Diamond Tiara says, "An invitation? What's it from?" Where Zoe says, "It's from your little sister, Marsha." Where Marsha says, "Hi, Auntie Tiara. I can't wait to play with you." Where Diamond Tiara says, "My niece, Marsha." Where Diamond Tiara says, "I love my little niece. Her name is Marsha." Where Diamond Tiara says, "Oh, no." Where Zoe says, "What's wrong, Diamond Tiara? I thought you wanted to see Marsha." Where Diamond Tiara says, "I do actually, but it's just I never played before." Where Zoe says, "Don't worry, Diamond Tiara. We'll teach you something. Come on, follow us. You can play with us at the park." Where Diamond Tiara says, "I'm going to miss my home." Where Zoe Tran says, "How about you can play on the swings, or the slide, or this?" Where Zoe says, "Here, I'll show you." And